Today, I'm going to talk about Insidious, The Red Door, the fifth and final installment of the Insidious franchise that started back in 2010. Is this movie a worthy conclusion to the saga of the Lambert family and their encounters with the creepy creatures of the Further? Or is it a disappointing dud that should have stayed behind the Red Door? Let's find out. The Red Door is directed by Patrick Wilson, who also stars as Josh Lambert, the father and son duo who have the ability to astral project into a dark dimension where evil spirits lurk. This time, Josh and his son Dalton, Ty Simpkins, have to face their past demons and go deeper into the Further than ever before in order to save their family and themselves from a new and more horrifying threat. Along the way, they meet some familiar faces, such as Elise Rainier, the psychic medium who helped them in the previous films, and Specs and Tucker, the comic relief ghost hunters who work with Elise.
I'm Specs, this is Tucker. Say hi, Tucker. No.
Now, I have to admit that I'm a fan of the Insidious series. Definitely not in my top 20 horrors, but I think the first two movies were genuinely scary and well made, with some memorable scenes and characters. The third and fourth movies were not as good, but they still had some decent moments and expanded the mythology of the Further. So I was looking forward to seeing how this franchise would end, especially with Patrick Wilson making his directorial debut. And long story short, after spending almost 2 hours on this piece of art, I came to the conclusion that I wish Patrick Wilson to stay as an actor, or at least try harder next time as a director. It's not a terrible picture, but it's not a good one either. Well, just like my movie reviewing skills, actually.
You're bad at this.
The main problem with this movie is that it feels like a rehash of the previous films, without adding anything new or interesting.
Seriously?
The plot is predictable and formulaic. The scares are cheap and impactless, and the characters are numb and lifeless.
And a time to laugh.
The movie tries to explore some heavy themes, such as trauma, memory, and mental health, but it does so in a superficial and cliched way.
That's what it feels like.
It also tries to be emotional and sentimental, but it fails to make me care about the characters or their struggles.
Whatever.
This part of Insidious is just too dull and uninspired to make me feel anything. It's just like getting laid after 2 packs of cold ones.
We were gonna do it. Gross.
The only thing that saves this movie from being a complete waste of time is the performance of Patrick Wilson. He does a decent job as an actor, showing some charisma and talent.
At least you got a father.
He also has some good chemistry with Ty Simpkins, who plays his son Dalton. They are the only ones who seem to be invested in their roles and in the story. The rest of the cast is either wasted or annoying.
And pretty weird.
Rose Byrne, who plays Josh's wife Renee, has nothing to do but look worried and cry. Chaim Abbas, who plays Dalton's art teacher, is a pretentious bore who spouts nonsense about Goya and darkness. And finally, Sinclair Daniel, who plays Dalton's accident roommate / pre-girlfriend and / mystery reveal partner, is just a weird character. I mean, you're lucky enough to share a room with a random depressed dude who's afraid to sleep without a light on and who tells you some unlikely psychedelic stories.
And when I woke up, this lantern appeared.
And instead of staying the hell away from him, you believe his tales and let him draw you into his twisted supernatural madness? Well, I'm not buying it. The movie also fails to deliver on the horror front. The Further is supposed to be a terrifying place where anything can happen. But in this movie, it's just a valley of boredom where the most that can happen to you is that you'll go hungry.
May I offer you some diaper pudding?
The Insidious 5 relies on jump scares and loud noises to scare us, but they are so predictable and overused that the maximum they can do is to wake you up. The movie also recycles some of the monsters from the previous films, such as the lipstick face demon and the bride in black, but they are not scary anymore. They are just familiar faces that we have seen before. We also being introduced to some new monsters, such as a vomiting ghost and a spider-like creature, but they are not scary either. They are just gross or silly, just like the rejects of a Halloween costume contest or the results of a bad acid trip. The movie also has some plot holes and inconsistencies that make no sense. For example, how did Josh and Dalton remember the Further again? How did they escape from the Further? How and why did Elise's spirit show up at the end? None of these questions are answered or explained in the movie. They are just there to move the plot along or create some fake drama.
I love you, son.
Insidious 5 is an unsuccessful attempt to show the other side of the horror, the deep emotional consequences of an unfinished dark story, and its cheesy, satisfying, happy ending. It's not a bad idea and not the worst implementation of one, but it just doesn't belong here. It's like an old-school heavy metal band releasing an indie pop album and expecting its longtime fans to enjoy it.
No one will miss it.
Let's just get this over with.
If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't like it,
And I'm gonna fuck you up.
well, I don't care. But remember, if you ever see a red door in your life, don't open it. Don't even look at it. Because behind that red door, there might be something worse than the lipstick-faced demon or the bride in black. There might be a sequel.
We do not need another incident.